and bienvenidos to the second annual Latinx Performance Celebration hosted by the WKU Forensic Team. Thank you guys so much for coming. It is exceptional and beautiful that we have opportunities to share narratives like this. My name is Ryan Gosling. I am also part of the WKU Forensic Team, and we have an exceptional evening planned for you guys. Today we're actually partnered with the HOLAS, which is the Helicopter for Latin Americans. They're going to be presenting in our showcase as well. So you guys, are you guys ready? I need to hear the spice. Are you ready? That is what I am talking about. Okay, so our first performer, without further ado, is going to be Salvador Tinajero from Santa Ana, California. He will be performing a program of oral interpretation, which is a selective group of pieces of different literature grouped together to talk about a specific argument. He used this piece to cope with his understanding of the immigration, used to the filtering of the experience filtered through the lens of a Latin American circus. So without further ado, Mr. Salvador Tinajero.
Welcome, bienvenidos to all! What you're about to watch is actually quite exciting, and the best part is you don't know that you've been watching for years! It's a show of all kind of spectacularities, clowns, and trapeze acts, all funded by the agents of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. For our first act, our amazing acrobats will walk the tightrope of immigration. I came to the United States to seek political asylum. As I walked across the international bridge with my 18-month-old son in my arms, I felt fear rising in my throat. We were walking towards an uncertain future, but at the same time, leaving behind a life of known danger. I never thought they would take him from me. But soon, I learned how the U.S. immigration system truly works. The circus's 8 floodlight top spires glowed in the distance. I joined the throng of circus goers, following a path lined by wooden flags mounted atop a wooden fence. Most spoke Spanish, as did the roving vendors offering sugary raspas in neon cups. The lights dimmed. A spotlight trained on a towering red velvet curtain, from which came a young ringmaster. ¿Están listos? Comenzamos. La Carpa Garcia! From 1914 to 1940, Manuel and Teresa Garcia traveled across the American Southwest with a team of professional clowns, acrobats, and entertainers in a circus performance known as La Carpa Garcia. Evolving from the clowning and acrobatic traditions of the ancient Aztecs, La Carpa Garcia performed for primarily a poor, Spanish-speaking migrant audience and used the circus to provide commentary on discrimination in the workplace and racism embedded in American culture. Today, in the aftermath of Trump's zero-tolerance policies, family separation, and systematic abuse, many Latinx individuals feel like contortionists in a sideshow. There is almost no way to authentically reflect the horrors faced by brown immigrants in the U.S. But perhaps, skewed through the prism of an art form lost in history, we can find solidarity. Using the prose, Trump and a Spanish-speaking circus by Daniel Blue Tykes, transcripts from Donald Trump's speeches, drama, At the Border My Son Was Taken From Me by Midian G, and poetry, At the Big Top by Andrew Perez. A traveling circus, a performative act of solidarity. Oh, how they harumph in their glory, unaware of the chaos they're creating, how they like to tear families apart like paper confetti, how they like to erect the big top, 10 cities they use to house the calamity they've caused, though fear might be keeping some people at home. In the friendly confines of the big top, it was palpable in ways I hadn't expected. Not merely an escape, the circus became a theater, wherein the audience's private fears were played out in ways both subliminal and overt. One of our favorite bits in La Carpa is the dreaded and spectacular clown. One day, we'll begin working on a physical, tall, beautiful southern border wall. We will use the best technology, including above and below ground sensors. Remember that. Above and below ground sensors, towers, aerial surveillance, and Mexico will work with us. I absolutely believe it. Under my administration, anyone who crosses the border illegally will be detained and moved out of our country and brought back to the country from which they came. After I told the officers I was here to seek asylum, they asked me why I had come to the United States. I told them of the dangers I faced from a military crackdown in Honduras. We fled just after the military tear gassed our home. We spent that night in a facility. It would be the last time my son would sleep in my arms for months. The circus likes to watch men, women, and children leap through the flaming hoops of customs, stretch, bend, and contort in order to become the right kind of American, withdraw this melanin from our skin and abandon our tongues to make you more comfortable. Watch us swallow the sword of the English language and then laugh when we choke on these foreign syllables. As if that weren't enough, they snatch our children and lock them in cages, making American immigration policy the greatest horror on earth. Up next, our acrobat will tackle the cannonball of death. The next morning, they said that I would be going to one place and my son would be going to another. The officer forced me to strap my son into his car seat. As I searched for the buckles, he began to cry, but without giving me a moment to comfort him, the officer shut the door. I could see my son through the window, looking back at me. I was sent to Port Isabel Detention Center in Los Flores, Texas. But I couldn't move or think knowing that my son was living in a separate government facility. We are tired of watching drunken jesters juggle with our children. We are tired of being chained like beasts. La raza is the lion that refuses to be tamed. And if you wanted to play knife thrower, you should have aimed for the heart. For our final act, our amazing acrobat will tackle the trapeze of reunification. Will she reach her son, folks? The music stopped. For the first and only time in the show, total silence. Its own kind of soundtrack. I was told he'd been sent to a foster home in San Antonio, but wasn't told how long he would be there, or who was taking care of him, or when I would see him again. The acrobat's arms moved out from her body like a bird's wings. But she missed on her first attempt. I was given a phone number to call, but had no access to a phone. She missed on the second and third attempts too, while being sent to different detention centers. I prayed, cleaned, took English classes, anything to keep my mind on the possibility of getting my son back and not on the pain of losing him on the fourth attempt. She plummeted from her perch and caught the handkerchief between her teeth, catching herself at the very last moment on April 3rd. An immigration judge told me that I had a credible asylum claim. I made a request through the Office of Refugee Resettlement to get my son back. After 2 months and 11 days, my son was brought back to me. It was an uncontainable joy to hold him. All this time we were apart, he was the reason I held on. And now he was here. As the band began playing, the trapeze was gently lowered. We didn't cheer until she was safely on the ground. We took a moment to recover from what we'd seen, reminding ourselves that, after all, this was just part of the show.
Let's give it up one more time for Mr. Salvador Tirano! Thank you so much, Sal, for that beautiful performance. Our next speaker is Sadas del Toro from El Paso, Texas. He will be performing a prose interpretation, which is exonerating the stories of the ancient history of Central Maya and its relation to the cenote. Without further ado, Sadas del Toro!
Eduardo liked to imagine Angelita's approving nod as she praised his work ethic. She would say, "There's Eduardo, the gatekeeper of the cenote." A cenote is a perfectly circular pool inside of a cave, as if a great worm had one day dug itself to the center of the world. And Eduardo sold the ticket. However, there was this thing about the tickets. Eduardo had a really good memory for faces. He would take the ticket stub from the day's sales, and whenever a tourist exited the cenote, he would take the ticket stub and throw it away. And he would even annotate them with a description, such as the blonde Canadian with the pink backpack, the round Mexican with the smile that looked like a slice of a grapefruit, the towering German with big-ass eyes, etc. And at the end of the day, Eduardo had placed 6 torn ticket stubs at the edge of his desk. These tourists had not returned. Pre-Columbian Central America was ruled by a variety of different tribes. Among these were the ancient Maya, famous for their architecture, mathematical advancements, as well as their violent religious rituals. For instance, the use of a cenote to conduct sacrificial offerings to the rain god Chak. Unlucky souls would be tied up and thrown into this underground pool, never to be seen again. As time passed, cenotes have become places of wonder, and most recently, an apt metaphor for the struggles of missing Mexican people. The missing 43 students in Guerrero, the women kidnapped in Ciudad Juarez, and most recently the children taken at the border. Author Benjamin Barcenic employs this motif of the cenote to explore our lingering fascination. Given our current political climate, the fear that we may one day disappear and be forgotten is no myth. Wow. The Ticket Taker of Cenote Sasi by Benjamin Barcenic. Angelita operated the ice cream cart that roved the park, and sometimes she would even park next to Eduardo's ticket taker booth. He felt like they, the 2 park workers, were like husband and wife, each silhouette in their own little house, one peddling sweet ice, the other the portal to the underworld. Eduardo showed Angelita his collection of ticket stubs. She came inside his booth and they stood close together. And in her hair, he could smell sugar and cream and sweat. He showed her that collection of ticket stubs. None of these had come back, he told her, and she said, well, what do you mean? And he said, I mean that they went down to the cenote and they didn't come back. This one is 11 days old. And then she eyed him for a while and said, wait, Mexicans or tourists? But before Eduardo could say anything, she said, look, if people have gone missing, they would call the police. I mean, people just don't go poof. Poof, Eduardo thought. That following night, he dreamed. He was walking along the cenote, around its path, which was surrounded by people who did not speak or move. They did not look at him as he passed by. They were all standing directly in front of the cenote, their eyes transfixed at its center. Their fingertips were soft and pulpy. The following morning, he felt like shit. But he decided that he was going to get to the bottom of this. He laid out his own notebook in front of the booth and drew 2 columns. One that said name, nombre, and then name of hotel. And at the end of the day, Eduardo had 1 ticket stub remaining. Eduardo stabbed his pencil next to the man's name. Francisco Velázquez, Hotel San Clemente. In a group of 3, Eduardo recalled. Mother, father, and daughter. Arriving at Hotel San Clemente, he asked the front desk to direct him to the room that was under the Velázquez name. And as he knocked on the door, a little girl answered, followed by an older woman behind her. Eduardo asked the little girl where her father, Francisco, was. And as the little girl looked up to her mother for a response, the older woman told him that her husband had been dead for over 11 years. She then asked who he was and what he wanted. I am so sorry. I need to go. The next day, he tried to find himself in better rhythm. He set aside the collection of ticket stubs and he waved to Angelita across the park, who smiled and waved back, each too busy now to talk to one another. And as the sunlight began to dim at the edge of the sky, he sorted through the remaining ticket stubs. There were 10 of them left. And as tourists started exiting the cenote, it made the pile start to diminish rapidly, and for this, he was thankful. I mean, he even told himself that today would be no ticket left day. But there was 1 ticket left. Eduardo read the verification code, but he cannot remember the face it belonged to. Orale. It was a joke, played by Angelita. On the description, she had written, brown hair smells like ice cream. But as he looked across the park for her, he could not see her. Angelita! come to the restroom, he thought. But time passed. It was dark now. And Angelita was nowhere to be seen. He proceeded slowly down the path, so his eyes could adjust to the whole cavern. Had the Mayas sacrificed here to pay tribute, he thought? But because they were afraid of it. The water was slowly lapping over the edge, inches from his feet. Eduardo inspected the pool of water. And deep in its depths, he saw something. It was a body, highlighted fluorescent blue, its arms stretched wide at the heart of the pool. He knew this body. Eduardo dove in, swimming hard. He swam deeper and deeper, but the body stayed out of reach, deep at its twisted bottom. His lungs ached when he realized that he would not reach her. Around him, the water began to churn. Claws or strong fingertips grasped the back of his shirt. They grasped the back of his head. They clawed into his wrists and ankles. He was being pulled down to float among the skulls. Ancient, old, and new.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna have some nightmares after that. Thank you, Sabas. No, but congratulations, that was a beautiful performance. You guys give them a round of applause. How's everyone feeling so far? Yes, you live for that. Now we will have a representation from our HOLAS group, which is our Hilltoppers organization of Latin American students. We have here representatives Savannah Martinez and
Andrea Bravo.
Okay, let's give it up.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Savannah Martinez, and I'm part of HOLAS. I'm the Public Relations Manager. We are the Hilltop organization for Latin American students, and we provide support for our Latin American students here on campus by providing leadership opportunities, educational success, and social support for our students. And we also have some social events on campus, like last semester we had our Hispanic Heritage Festival with Peruvian dancers, food, music. And then this semester we're going to be partnering with CAB to have a salsa night on April 8th, if you guys can come. And for me, I'm originally from Northern Kentucky, about 3 hours from here. So coming to WKU, I didn't know anyone, and making friends is kind of hard for me because I've always been kind of shy and like well reserved. But coming here, HOLAS really gave me like a home away from home, and they gave me my new roommate that I have now. And without this group, I wouldn't even be standing up here today. I really encourage you guys to come to our meetings. We meet every Monday night at 6 p.m. downstairs in 2086. If you guys can join us, we would love to have you. You guys don't have to be Latin American to join. We welcome everyone and really encourage you guys to come. So thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Andrea. People call me Andy. They also call me Bravo because for some reason people can't pronounce Andrea, so you know, gotta make names. I'm not as cool as them when it comes to speaking, but I'll try my best. So basically, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about my background. It's kind of a mess. I was everywhere. So I was born in Spain. I was adopted by my aunt. So she adopted me from her sister. Weird, right? So here we are. My parents were actually immigrants, and as you can tell, I'm not first generation American. I was made a citizen through my parents, and so yeah, like I know the struggle of growing up like with immigrant parents, and I actually grew up in California. My whole life, I was surrounded with Latinos and everybody you can think of. It was like everybody, everything. And then one day the economy crashed in 2008. Oh, I don't know if you guys remember that. Millennials, right? So when the economy crashed, my parents lost their house in California. We couldn't afford it, but we had a house in Ecuador, so we decided to go live in Ecuador. So I was there until like 2013. So I grew up in Ecuador, and everybody speaks Spanish, so I just had to like integrate to that Spanish stuff. So when I came back around 2013, I couldn't speak a lick of English. Like it was so bad, people couldn't understand me. And like, look at me today. I can speak English. So we're back in Cali. We're living in Southgate, like Watts. No, I went to Southgate. We living in Watts. If you know anything about Watts, it's like literally 2 blocks away from Compton. So it was intense. Like one time I saw a hooker around my street, but we don't want that. So it was all types of bad. We're living in a bad neighborhood, and my sister was like, yeah, why don't we just come to Tennessee? She can get a proper education. And they were like, all right, let's go. So we came to Tennessee. I walk in, it's my first day of high school. Everybody was white. Everybody was white. And they had green eyes. I had never seen so many green eyes. I looked at them, so I come in, and I love my school. And we actually went to school together. So we went to school together, and I love my school. It was White House High School, and just such an awesome environment. And, then I came here. Now we're here in WKU, and I'm a freshman. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about my experience in OLAS. Like, I was super heavily involved with OLAS. I'm currently not in there because I'm a commuter. So I try to take all my classes in the time frame of 3 days. It's intense. Like, I go from 8 in the morning to like 6 at night. Sometimes I want to die, but it's okay. So, I live in Tennessee. I had to commute an hour, but being in OLAS, like, it's just, they're so welcoming. Even if you don't speak Spanish, even if you're white, it doesn't matter. Just come in. Come in, and we'll, like, greet you. We'll give you food. This is, like, something Spanish people never tell you, but they try to feed you. Everything. Like, they'll just stuff food in your face, but, So, just come. I promise you, I might look intimidating. I might be a little bit loud, but that's how Latinas are. That's how we is. So, just come in. We'll greet you. We'll love you. We'll treat you like one of our own. We'll show you the ways. So I did want to talk a little bit about my experience as a freshman. I don't know who's a freshman in here. All right, freshmen. So, like being a freshman and being a commuter, I've had a lot of people tell me like, yo, you ain't getting the college experience. And I was like, what you mean I'm not getting the college experience? Because everybody expects like, you go to this dorm and like you living and like, that's your college experience. But no, it ain't like that, I think my college experience has been made so much better because I joined an organization like OLAS that was just everybody, and I met a lot of good people. I know you. I met a lot of good people. I made a lot of good friends and a lot of good connections. I'm a little bit of an artist. I remember one time we had an event and we started like painting people's faces, painting little kids' faces. If you like that, you can come join. There's a lot of so, you know, as a freshman, like we tend to be scared. We don't want to go out there. But go put yourself out there. Go join some clubs. Go know some other people from other clubs. All right. Anybody got any questions? I can answer them. I'll try to answer them. I got no like answers for what their beautiful thing that they did, but I can answer anything about HOLAS. So if you guys want to raise some hands. All right, never mind.
I live for you, sis. I live for you. I'm gonna need you to join the team. Period.
Yo, let's do it.
Thank you guys so much again for coming and representing. Our final performance is none other than Salvador Tinajero and Sabas del Tula doing a duo interpretation. This interpretation is a program that addresses the Trump administration's actions and legislation that continuously negatively impact the Latin American community by sparking vigilante support. So please help me welcome, for the last time, Sabas del Tula and Salvador Tinajero.
They are coming. We are the prey. They are the predator. We hide. They hunt. We are not safe here. You have some wonderful heads here. That Cape Buffalo is the largest I ever saw.
Oh yes, that fellow. He was a monster.
Did he charge you?
Hurled me against a tree. Fractured my skull. But I got the brute.
I always thought the Cape Buffalo was the most dangerous of all big game.
You are wrong, my good sir. On this island, I hunt a much more dangerous game.
These
Aren't
people.
these
are animals. And we're taking them out of the country.
And we're taking them out of the country
At a rate that's never happened before.
We get them fast. We arrest them. We let them go.
We get them again. We bring them out. It's crazy.
Emboldened by President Trump. Everyday citizens are carrying out high-stakes games of cat and mouse across the nation.
Once they find someone they believe to be here illegally, they hunt them down. What have you imported, General? Tigers?
No. Hunting tigers ceased to interest me some years ago. No more thrill in hunting tigers, no real danger. See, I live for danger, Mr. Rhinesford.
But what game?
I'll tell you. You will be amused, I know. I think I may say that I have created a new sensation.
Wow.
Run, Mr. Rhinesford.
This is white supremacy disguised as vigilante justice.
This is Trump's America.
Wow.
Dating back to the genesis of Donald Trump's campaign in 2016, the American Voice Education Fund created what they have deemed the Trump hate map.
The document details over 1,200 instances where Trump supporters or his staff have harassed or attacked immigrants, minorities, or other marginalized groups.
The AVEF notes, like Woodrow Wilson and countless presidents before him, Trump's xenophobic rhetoric goes beyond the political world, creating a culture where supremacy is emboldened to accost everyday citizens.
These situations don't happen in isolation. They happen when hatred is endorsed in our country's highest level.
Using the Prose, The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Kahn.
The poetry, Hunting Season by Rodrigo Juarez.
Articles by America's Voice, Vox, and History.com.
And the drama, Culture Crash by Diego Castillo.
A program exposing border vigilantism for what it really is.
Murder.
Wow.
In 1915, President Woodrow Wilson demanded that Birth of a Nation, a piece of racial propaganda that glorified the then withering KKK, be screened in the White House. Wilson remarked,
It's like writing history with lightning. My only regret is that it's all so terribly true. And just like that,
the KKK had their ultimate recruitment tool.
new chapters formed and memberships reached the millions. 100 years later, President Donald Trump says,
There are some very fine people on both sides.
and just like that,
A nation full of white vigilantes emerged from the woodwork.
all it takes is an endorsement. Okay, primo. Now, remember, I don't want you mentioning a word to your tia about this, okay? I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to get a chancla to the face. Now start the car.
What?
Start the car. Start the engine.
Oh, right. I wait.
Hey, relax. Calmate. Just remember everything I taught you. Now push down on the brake, put it in reverse, and back up slowly. Now remember to brake. Good. Now put it in drive.
Drive.
Put it in drive. Fuck yeah! You see, it's not that hard. Stop sign. Oh.
Maybe you should put your seatbelt on.
Oh, really? You know, maybe you should just... Here. Let's just listen to some music.
Hector Torres was speaking on the phone with his mother when a man approached him.
Hey,
Yeah?
why don't you learn how to speak fucking English?
Excuse me?
You know, we live in America. We speak fucking English in America.
Sir, please, I'm just...
You know, I feel like pieces of shit like you can kiss my ass. You got your papers?
You can't be serious, General Zara.
Life is for the strong, Mr. Rhinesford. To be lived by the strong. And if need be, taken by the strong. Now, as I said, run, Mr. Rhinesford.
In 2018, we have seen an increase on white bodies policing brown bodies around the country. From Barbecue Becky and Permit Patty conducting Caucasian espionage at the cookout and pool party.
Can you imagine if people of color policed white bodies?
Oh, imagine that phone call. Hello, yes, officer. I need to report a suspicious man at our local park. He's wearing clean socks, and his Lacoste polo is tucked in.
Howdy! Howdy! Want to play some cornhole?
I don't understand what he's saying.
What?
I
Never want to hear you say, I want it that way. Hey, Luis, your English is getting better.
Oh, what's that song? Primo makes me feel something, you know?
Simon! Hey, go, it's green. See, Luis, what did I tell you, man? If you keep it up like this, you're gonna be driving in no time. Oh, shit! Oscar de la Cruz rides the bus after a long day from work when he is harassed by two white men.
I thought spics like you were sent back to Mexico.
Señor, no
You
hables
here
inglés.
legally wet back?
Señor,
Do you hear me, Bino?
señor,
Are
señor,
you
no
an
habla
illegal?
inglés.
I think he is of Irish descent. Probably Germanic. I don't know. I'm just really scared.
Hey, you want to listen to some Coldplay?
César, wake up. Ay, Dios, César. Oh, maldita sea. Someone, please. Someone, please. Call the police. Rainsford's idea at first was to put distance between himself and General Zara.
The weak of this world were put here to give the strong pleasure. I am the strong. I hunt the scum of this world. Blacks, Chinese, mongrels, a hound is worth more than the score of them. And I think you'll find this game worth playing. Outdoor chess!
During Birth of a Nation's premiere, President Wilson cheered as Klansmen paraded the city on hooded horses firing rifles into the city. Now watch those bullets rip through time. Watch them load into George Zimmerman's chamber. Watch them fill the body of an immigrant child killed by men impersonating ICE agents. Watch a blood-soaked hood transform into a MAGA hat. Watch the hunter let his dogs off the leash. Is my cousin okay?
The medics are taking a look at him. What's your name, kid?
Luis de la Cruz.
Where were you two heading?
We were going home.
Are you a U.S. citizen, Luis?
Yes. I mean, I will be, but the papers are being processed and they would...
Do you have your papers?
I left them at home.
Were you driving without a license?
Yes, but my cousin is of age and he has his license.
Please turn around and put your hands behind your back.
What? Why?
Please turn around and put your hands behind your back.
But officer, I didn't do
Sir,
anything wrong.
I'm not gonna
Ay,
tell
mi
you
brazo
again.
no puedo.
What the fuck is he saying?
My arm, I can't, it
Send
hurts.
the first available.
No, primo, César, ayúdame. Primo, ayúdame. César, ayúdame.
If you are within the sound of my voice, suppose you are, let me congratulate you. You are proving quite interesting, Mr. Rhinesford. But I am going home for a rest now. Thank you for your most amusing evening. But I shall be back. I shall be back.
Since when is one's immigration status more important than their status as a human being?
This nationalistic vigilantism needs to end.
We are not prey.
But we are praying, pleading, hoping for policies that will make our entire community safer.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I don't know about you, but I have been mind blown, shook, hurt, emotionally ripped apart, scared, but educated.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much for coming. That's the end of our showcase. If you want to take some pictures with Salvador and Salvador Tineros, stay with them after. If you want to talk to them about how amazing job they did, please do so. And thank you guys so much, Holas, for coming representing. And as people of color say on all platforms, you don't gotta go home, but you gotta get up out of here. Good night, everyone.